Hello, welcome to the Word Cafe podcast. This podcast has been designed with curated content that centers on the power of words. Can we really do anything without speaking? Can we really do anything without the agency of words? Yes, that is what this podcast is all about. And I am your host, Amakri Isoboye, your neighborhood word trader. I believe in the power of words, for it is the unit of creation. I trade in words to profit my world.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything. Yes, how are you all doing? Beautiful. I'm doing great. Excited to be in this space again. Yeah, you know the way we say it. We come into this space to do what? Lean on one another's experience positively and forge that path. Yes, that's what the Word Cafe is all about. Today I have something very interesting I want us to look at. The neuroscience of success. But more or less, we're going to be dwelling on neuroscience. And I have this amazing personality that will be doing justice to this topic. Yes, he's a neuroscientist or a neurologist, as we may want to, call him an award-winning neuroscientist. His name is Dr. Nii Borire. You know, he has this calm personality that tells me that neuroscience is calm and deep. You will enjoy every bit of it. Enough of my talking. I just have to bring him on now so that we go into why we are here. Where is he? You want to see his face? And there he is.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Nii. How are you?
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm great.
Beautiful. So, what is it like? Oh, wonderful. Welcome. What is it like at your end? Because I know you are somewhere at the end of the earth. What is it like there?
Well, I'm in your future. Okay, I'm already in the future for you. It's 8:10 p.m. right now, Saturday evening. It's cool. Actually, it's relatively cold, and we're in winter, so we're already getting to the peak of the winter season. But yeah, it's been a quiet day for me, just chilling, relaxing. I just went bowling with a couple of friends, so we just came back from the bowling club. So it's just been a chilled day.
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Can't complain. You know, when you said you're in my future, you know the way the world works. You know, you imagine where on. I mean, this is Saturday, quite all right, but you now imagine that some people are 20 or 10 hours ahead of you. And it's like, wow, amazing. So these guys are actually in my future. They've seen what will happen already, so to say, and we are still just rolling. Welcome. Yeah. So before we do anything, we'd like to meet Nii Borire, Dr. Nii. Who is this amazing Nii Borire? Who is he?
Wow, what a question. So Nii Borire is multidimensional, or I would use the word multifaceted. I'm flawed. I'm as flawed as they come. But then I'm grateful to God that I have the opportunity to build on my flaws and to not give in to those weaknesses, or not allowing my weaknesses and my failings to define me. So I see myself from 4 dimensions. There's Nii, the person, and that's, I think, the most important part of me. Nii, the person. Nii, I'm a very strong-willed person by nature, but I've learned to calm down as I've grown older. I am very analytical. I like organizing and planning things, so I've got a bit of OCD in me. And it's not surprising that I chose a field of neurology and neuroscience, because most neuroscientists are skeptics and they've got a bit of OCD in them, trying to check things and make sure everything is right. So as a person, I'm still pleasant to get on with, at least so a lot of my people say. I like to enjoy, relax myself. I love sports. I'm a proud supporter of Manchester City Football Club. And I'm a member of the club, and I've been so since my university days. I love rugby. I love athletics, tennis. I'm a sports person in general. And I also love, I enjoy watching movies, the MCU, Marvel, all the, Iron Man, all. I've watched all of them. I enjoy relaxing, having time with the family. So that's me, the person. I'm blessed to have married a wonderful woman, my only love. We met in high school, and we've just come to love each other. I hope you can still see me. Yes, we met in high school, and we've just come to love each other. And so I'm privileged to have her, and to raise two sons with her. So Ethan and Daniel are boys. So that's me, the person. There's me, the professional, which is what a lot of people see. I'm a neurologist by training, meaning that I'm involved in diagnosing and treating patients with, disorders of the brain, the nerves, and the spinal cord. That's what I do as a physician. But I'm also involved in neuroscience. That's understanding how the brain works and how to unravel the functions of the brain and how, applying that to our daily lives. So I lecture in the university as well. And so that's need a professional. There's also need the people builder. Which is probably what brought us together when I felt there was something much more than the person and the professional, and that's about building people. And I've got a calling to help raise leaders. I've got a mandate to build leaders who do not just react to change, but leaders who will create their own desired change. And that's something that I feel so strongly about. And so it's reflecting in all of the different expressions that I have. Including my latest outfit, which is called Legacy Consults, and that's basically focused on the neuroscience of leadership and performance, improving the quality of leadership in organizations using neuroscience as a tool. And the final part is me, the preacher. I'm still a person of faith. I'm still a person that is defined by my faith in God and my connection with God. And I'm privileged enough to lead a group of people in our local community here in Liverpool, in Sydney, where we bless lives and we encourage people to pursue their faith in Christ. So that's basically the different dimensions of me, all right, of what I do and who I am. Very long answer.
When you said you were analytical in nature, I was like, okay, fine, let's see how it goes. And yours truly, doing the intros, analytical you are, because you just took it like that from the person, the profession, your passion, the person builder, and you went, I'm also a faith-based person, as in I'm a preacher. I believe in God through Jesus, and this is what I do, and I'm part of it. So we can just see that, analysis coming together, though we're not paralyzed anyway, So why should I? Yes, we're not paralyzed. Why should I bother myself about neuroscience? Because, when you say neuroscience, those of us in Africa, it's somewhat distant from us when you talk about neuroscience. And, in the medical field, you just hear us general practitioners, blah, 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 but you rarely see people go into things like neurology or neuroscience. So why did you go into that?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history. We also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
Yeah, I think I've always been fascinated by the brain. I remember that when I was in my second year of medical school, I was privileged to actually look at the brain, to handle the brain of a real cadaver. So we had, human cadavers in our dissecting lab, and I was the chief dissector in our class, second year anatomy class. And I remember opening up the skull of this cadaver and, picking up the brain. And I was just fascinated by the complexity of the structures there. The brain is such an amazing work of art. The brain is amazing in its complexity. It's profound. And up till now, we've not scratched the surface. Billions of neurons firing together in synchrony, more powerful than any supercomputer ever built. All right. The genius behind the development of the brain, where you've got billions of cells communicating together through chemical substances, all right, and still yet determining the outcome of all that we do. And I think as I started exploring the brain from a clinical point of view, meaning that my initial adventure into neuroscience was to help people get better. Okay. I wanted to help people with neurological disorders, stroke, epilepsy, headaches, migraines, multiple sclerosis, problems like that. That was my desire, to help alleviate pain and suffering. But I think as I started exploring the brain, I realized there was a lot more to the brain than just illness. And that understanding the connection of the brain and the mind and how these two are connected, how they work, is very key in understanding human behavior and human conditioning. And so a lot of the things that we accept, a lot of the things that we do, even the way we do things are all encoded in our brains. The way we talk, the way we dress, our view of life, our biases, the things we are biased about, our stereotypes, and all of those things are determined by the brain. It determines our attitude, and so there are different aspects of the brain that, and of, the brain in particular that sort of got me, hooked up. And by the time I started going deeper into particularly cognitive neuroscience, which is the aspect of neuroscience that looks at the working of the mind and the brain, it's sort of the mind and our ability to make decisions, I realized that it was really important, that this is a really important aspect of human life and human endeavor. And I think in the last, few decades, it's become something that a lot of people are beginning to understand. You see a lot of people out there, mindset coach. Of course, a lot of them don't understand what they're talking about, with all due respect. But ultimately, with my background in neuroscience for the last 2 decades, I think it's given me a lot of credibility to be able to talk about how the brain works.
All right. Now, there's a question I'm going to bring up, but you just mentioned mindset coach. So let us build on that. There's a lot of mindset coaches out there, but truly, do they understand the concept of the mind engineering? So from your perspective, what is mindset coach all about?
Well, I don't call myself a mindset coach, but you'll see that it's anyone can be a coach these days. And in fact, the word coaching is really, really being bastardized now. Almost everybody can coach. The reality is that we all coach ourselves, isn't it? Even you yourself can coach yourself. So a coach is just somebody who can help people solve their own problems, develop a problem, an action plan to solve their own problems. And sometimes we do that ourselves. We do that in our peer groups. And sometimes we need people that are experts in a particular area to coach us to achieve excellence. Coaching is not generally about teaching. So I've got a fitness coach. My fitness coach does not necessarily teach me about exercise. My fitness coach draws out a plan for me that I can execute. My fitness coach stands by the sidelines and allow me to shine, to achieve my goals, holds me accountable. That's what coaching is. So that's why, a coach is not a teacher, a coach is not a trainer, a coach is not a facilitator. No. The coaching, Serena Williams' coach does not teach her how to strike a ball. She already knows how to do that. His job is to develop a game plan and help her maintain her fitness and make sure she executes it to win a championship. You can apply that to, mindset coaching as well. I would assume that people who are in this field or who label themselves as mindset coaches have learned 1 or 2 things about the mind, how the mind works, and they understand the limitation that a lot of people experience is from their minds. The truth is that there's the mind-body connection, and that a lot of people are really handicapped, by some of the subconscious processes that go on in the mind. And sometimes it's really important to be able to have somebody to expose those things to expose those things and help develop a plan to overcome them. The reality is that there's a lot more about the mind that we are unconscious about. The subconscious part of the mind is a lot more deep. It's like an iceberg. The surface of the iceberg is the conscious part of the mind. A very good example of that would be your thoughts, your decision making, your analytical, logical reasoning. Those are all conscious parts of the mind. So you need to be fully conscious and aware to be able to analyze. For example, if I give you a question and I ask you who the president of the United States is, you can analyze that. If I give you multiple choice options and I say Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, you analyze that, and you need to be conscious to be able to do that. Of course, you rely on your memory to do that, but there's a lot more that we do on a daily basis that is subconscious. In fact, I would say that more than 50% of the things we do every day are subconscious. They're autopilot. All right. So some of the behaviors that we do, a lot of the things that we do are already programmed within the subconscious, and those are the things that determine our habits. Those are the things that determine our outcomes in life. So there's no doubt about the fact that with our understanding of neuroscience and its impact on our behavior and our pursuit of excellence, mindset, engineering or mindset coaching is essential. The challenge I have is that a lot of people will attend 2 or 3 day programs. They would, then put on the label that they're mindset coaches, and of course, just get a lot of people wrong. So there's a real need for that, particularly in Africa, where a lot of people, where the models of success have been twisted, where the stereotypes and the examples that people have seen over the years are not adequate or founded on good principles, and so it can be emphasized. We can't overemphasize the need for that mental re-engineering in this day and age, and that's one of the things I champion.
Now, to the question, I was watching a documentary some time ago on, I think that was on Curiosity Channel, and we're talking about people from Romania, Transylvania to be precise, in Romania, that they have a high threshold for pain. And the documentary went into looking at why this, and they traced it back to Vlad Dracula, the impaler, as they call him, the things he did at that time, and all that brought this, what I say, high threshold of pain. So from generation to generation, and it's been passing on. So I now asked myself, is it that consciousnesses can be transmitted from one timeline to another? Based on what you just said now, your subconscious is just the tip of the iceberg. I want us to look at that. Consciousnesses, is it possible for it to be transmitted from one timeline to another, generationally speaking?
Absolutely. And very good example, though not perfect, would be transgenerational trauma that we see amongst indigenous populations across the world, whether they're African Americans in the United States, or the Red Indians, or if you go to Canada or Australia, the Aboriginal groups. You'll see that a lot of the current, let's just take America for example, the average African American does not see himself as being fully part of society. They feel themselves that they're disadvantaged. Some of them have never faced discrimination. Some of them never lived during the civil rights era. Some of them did not live under the Jim Crow laws. Some of them never knew what segregation was. But there's still that mentality which is passed transgenerationally from stories, from culture, from conditioning, from what the expectations are. And sometimes, of course, parents are trying to pass on these strong mental strongholds with the mind of safety, trying to protect. For example, I was watching a documentary today, a series of videos on YouTube of encounters between police and the black Americans. It's very not unlikely that the average black parent in the United States will want their teenage kid, to do this, to do that, to be cautious, don't put on a hoodie, don't do this, don't do that, just because they want to protect them. What all of course that does is that there's transmission of that culture at a very subconscious level. It introduces a bias, all right? So that's in society, and it's not only even for white people, even black people. You see the average You see an average 22-year-old or a teenage boy running on the streets in an affluent neighborhood with a hoodie on, and you just assume, that they're this or that. I've had patients come into my office not expecting to see a black neurologist. I'm one of 2 black neurologists in Australia. All right, it's a very, very wide country. I've had people come into my office saying they're looking for the doctor, and I am the doctor. All right. And that's just because of the expectation. They're expecting an old white man as a neurologist who will look after them, blah, blah, blah. So all of these expectations, the same thing, I just corrected somebody, talking to my son saying that, men don't cry. She just told my 6-year-old. My 6-year-old was crying, and this person was trying to console my 6-year-old. So he said, "Oh, no, men don't cry. Boys don't cry." Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, he hears that over and over and over again. And what that creates is that, you have to fight his vulnerability. He would feel its weakness to cry. He wouldn't want to show emotion. And then he will grow up becoming a very, very emotionally immature person, not being able to process his own feelings appropriately. And you know what that can lead to. So, through interactions at a very subconscious level, and this is something that is actively done or actively taught, but by what subsequent generations see, they can, biases can be transmitted, stereotypes can be transmitted, and even certain physical attributes can be transmitted, not just through the genetic phenomenon. There's genetic phenomenon, of course, where genes are passed from generation to generation. All right. For example, you look at the Samoans. There's a reason why the Samoans and the Kiwis are very good in rugby, which is very physical. All right. The width of the shoulder of the average Samoan or the Kiwi man, even the Caucasians can, there's a reason why basketball players, a lot of them are African Americans. There's a lot of genetics that come into play there, and over time. So genetics plays a part. But even beyond genetics, just sociology, our social interactions, and and the everyday life. Through that, a lot of wrong mindsets are transmitted from generation to generation. I'm sure you've heard the story of the woman who would only cook with a very small pot. I can't remember the way the story was really fashioned. And I think somebody was challenging, "Why are you cooking with a small pot? Why are you always cooking?" And the person said, "Well, my mother also cooked with a pot." And then when they asked the mom, "Well, my own mother also cooked with a small pot." And then when they asked, the grandmother, I think there was I can't remember the story. There was one flimsy reason where, what they had was not enough. So that's why they were using small pot. Sometimes, you have some of these weird things or, established mindsets that are passed from generation to generation, which need to be challenged. And so we need to challenge those things with what we have, with our knowledge now. So I think in a nutshell, it's quite possible that there's a transgenerational transfer of belief systems, attitudes, culture, even pain and trauma. All right. And you'll see that the emotions that are still being, like we work with the Aboriginal people, for example, in Australia. The average Aboriginal person in Australia receives, on average, the Australian government spends about $60,000 to $65,000 a year on an Aboriginal person. They are not up to 500,000 Aboriginal people right now in Australia, in a country of 27 million. All right. Whoa. But the government, because of the years of discrimination, are trying to look after them. But let me tell you, the average Aboriginal 22-year-old now doesn't want to go to school, all right, because he knows he's going to get benefits, knows that he is getting free healthcare, he lives a tax-free life, because Aboriginal people don't pay tax, all right? Okay. They still get royalties from the government for their land and all that. And so you see the average 22-year-old drinking away and doing all of those things, not wanting to have any education or to pursue anything. And that's why in this country, their life expectancy is in the 40s and 50s compared to the average life expectancy of the country, which is 85. All right. But you ask that 22-year-old, have you been racially profiled before? No. Have you been put in jail on the basis of your race before? No. They might not have had any physical experience of racism, but they have a transgenerational mindset of, racism and discrimination, which has been passed on over the years. And so they feel they're rejected, they feel unheard, they feel unloved, and they carry it there, even though they may not have any empirical evidence to back that up. All right. But that's just the way they feel, and that may limit them.
Now, looking at this, what is the downside to this? Because I have not been verbally abused. I've not been psychologically abused, physically or whatever. But because of what I've been told from one generation to the other, I subject myself to it. I mean, how do I break out of this?
Well, the only way you break out of it is by seeing examples. Most people do not realize the power of the Obama presidency in the United States. The fact that you could see somebody like you achieve something great, how liberating that is for a lot of people. All right. I remember reading the story of Roger Bannister, the first man to run the mile under 4 minutes. No one had run the mile under 4 minutes before. Everybody kept trying. Do you know the moment the first person ran it under 4 minutes, more than 2 or 3 people did it straight away? Sometimes when we see people break through, all right, that empowers us. There's nothing as powerful as you seeing somebody doing. I was inspired to pursue neuroscience because I read the book Gifted Hands by John Ben Carson. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, but of course that didn't work out for me because I just don't have the resilience of being a neurosurgeon. I was too nerdy for neurosurgery. Neurosurgery is just too hands-on, practical, that kind of thing. And I was just like, I was a nerd and, I'm not cut out for standing 22 hours operating on the brain. I prefer to read and watch YouTube videos, So, but ultimately you realize that when you see people break out of those molds, that's it. That's what liberates other people. It's very possible for you to have people wedded to a particular philosophy, wedded to a particular mental attitude, and reproduce that over and over again and accept that low estate as their very pasture. So a lot of people are still walking in that zone, living in that zone. If you go to the scriptures, for example, for those who are people of faith here, you will know how easy it was for the Israelites to spend 40 years wandering in the wilderness, doing the same thing, going over over and over and over again, until someone said, well, it's time to move forward. Okay, we've gone around this mountain for too long. It's now time for us to make progress. So there's this, people can get up in this, mob mentality. Those who are caught up in the mob mentality will just go round and round and round with every other person. Don't do it intentionally. All right. You get to a place of comfort where you just sleep, you wake up, you do your thing, you have a salary, and you are just held bound by some of those belief systems, not knowing that they are the ones limiting you. So people just feel that, oh well, I can't do that. Oh no, what's the point? Maybe I shouldn't. I was talking to somebody today who we was just, I said we went for bowling, and I was just talking to a guy, and we're just having an interaction, and we're talking about getting into the property market, and I was asking why, he's not, trying to get a mortgage and to buy a house. I said he's trying to save. I said, okay, well, you're a citizen, have you gone to a broker? He said no, and all of that. By the time I told him, I said, do you know now that just with a 5% deposit you can get a mortgage? He didn't even know that. So when I told him the average house price and how much you would need, he had more than that. All right, he had more than that, but he just assumed that, okay, you know what, I just need to do this. I just need to do this without challenging that and saying, just let me ask a question. Let me just meet somebody. Let me just talk to someone. All right. So it is very possible to be held bound. All right, by some of these, limiting belief systems and mindsets that I'm not good enough, I can't achieve this, or because of my skin color, because of my race, because of my background, I can't do this, I can't start this business, I can't explore this, it's too hard, those things can certainly limit people. And it's very important for, one to be, you can only fix what you're conscious of. You can only change something that you're aware of. And if you're not aware of the vulnerabilities of your mindset and the way your mind is operates, then you will not be able to fix it. All right. At the end of the day, if you understand yourself and you learn about yourself, that's what neuroscience really is about, isn't it? Helping you to understand who you are, how you're designed, and the vulnerabilities in the system. Every human being is vulnerable. There's no perfect person. All right. And so I see it as that your personality, each personality is blessed with strengths and weaknesses. If you understand how you are wired, then you can enhance your strengths and minimize your weaknesses, so you can improve your performance and you can be a better person.
Guys, you will agree with me. Dr. Nee just touched some sensitive nerves, within, as in, wow, I didn't know this was like this before, and all. Thank you so much. Now, traditionally, in our schools, in our society, you rarely hear us talk about stuff like this. From where you stand, do you think it would be nice or proper to have such discussions in, say, our schools, churches, neighborhood, in liberating us from this limiting beliefs?
Yeah, absolutely. But every time, culture shapers rise to challenge the status quo, they would always force opposition. And the opposition is usually by institutions. The institutions that are meant to protect us are often the ones that would stand against us. All right. And so that's just what history tells us, that institutions, it's very difficult to change institutional culture. And so often change will come from outside, inside. All right. So, you look at the way our churches, for example, in Africa, they're designed to, I don't want to use the word exploit. They're designed to meet a certain need. And when you take away those needs, you then basically destroy the business model of the growth of those churches. That's just a simple fact. And so, if you look at the same brand of a church, just pick up any church. For example, maybe a church that I attend here, how I would present the gospel to the people here will be completely different because their needs are different. I can't tell them that, in order for you to get money, to get a car, you come to church, because they don't need church for that. They have government. They have social security. All right. So you're not going to come to church because of money. They have good health care. And even though the health care will not solve every problem, at least it solves a lot of the problems. So I can't say only come to church for healing. I have to really go back to the essence, all right, of what it is, why, you need this. But imagine you then advocating this in a society where the institutions have been built on this foundation, all right. It will be difficult for you to really penetrate, all right. And that's what I am really, really focused on, especially when it comes to the neuroscience of leadership, helping people understand how they are wired, how within, as a leader, for example, you can improve your performance. If you understand leadership, if you understand the reactions of people when they're uncertain, if you understand how people think, a lot of people will struggle with this, and a lot of people will still challenge it because it would not be good for them, all right, because they thrive, their business model thrives on, exploiting people, all right. And so when you liberate people and say, listen, you can be better than this, you really do not need this. Do you know that if you do this and that, you can be a much more robust and, person? Then you realize that can be a challenge. But I am confident that more and more people are beginning to see this, and they're beginning to resonate with this. All right. Okay. And hopefully we raise more and more leaders who will champion this cause outside of this, institutions, and they will come on board. Institutions are often the last group of people to come on board, and so it's going to be a takeover. It's going to be a takeover.
Beautiful. So what is NIE up to this period? Because I went to your LinkedIn profile to check one or two things, and I was like, this guy is doing a lot. He's so busy. He's so busy with it, so much. So what are you up to? Let's know what you're up to and where we can catch you.
Yes. So currently, my flagship program called Legacy is going to be on next month, and it's amazing. It's a program that is focused on leadership. Leading for legacy is the theme. So how you can transform your leadership into legacy, how you can translate the vision of your leadership into an outstanding legacy. That's what it's all about. We've got a keynote speaker in John C. Maxwell who will be speaking powerfully on the topic. We also have some amazing speakers, Fela Drotoye and Jumoke Adenowo. Jumoke Adenowo is one of the top 5 female architects in the world, and she's a professor of architecture, and she's a renowned speaker, philanthropist, and an amazing woman. So she'll be giving a keynote as well. We also have some conversation drivers on change leadership, self-leadership by Wendy Bonds. Wendy Bonds is one of the leaders of within the John Maxwell team. And we'll also be having a conversation on visionary leadership by Debola Dejikorumi and Samuel Ekundayo, the purpose preacher from New Zealand. We've got a powerful panel. During that program as well, we have a VIP session. The event is free, but there's a VIP session there that I will be handling on the neuroscience of peak performance and with a few other people. So that's a paid part of the program, but the program itself is a free program. All you got to do is just to register on the website, legacyconsults.com.au. That's our main flagship event. Apart from that, we've got a few other models and programs that are coming up on the neuroscience of leadership and performance. So pretty much that's what I have at the moment.
Beautiful. Is it going to be a physical event or a virtual event?
Oh, no, it's a virtual event. It's a virtual event, yes, because the audience is a global audience. It's a virtual event. We've got from the 25th of August to the 27th of August, and it's 4 sessions over 3 days. And as I said, you need to register. If you register, it's going to be streamed live on YouTube from the 25th of August to 27th of August. So it's going to be really amazing. Last year, we had Nick Vujicic, very amazing program, and we had over 7,000 registrants. We're aiming for 20,000 registrants this time around, so hopefully we'll have quite a number of people attend. We've got thousands already who have registered for the program. We still have 2 more months to go, it would be a great program. Can I just say just something very quickly?
Go ahead.
Sorry, on the neuroscience of success, which I thought I'll just quickly mention. All right. Now, the way the brain is wired or designed to keep us alive. The brain's primary function is to keep us alive. And one of the way the brain does that is by constantly scanning the environment for threats. Our brains are designed as powerful predictive machines. So our brain looks around us, learns from our environment, stores the information so that when we encounter the same threats in the future, our brain can bring up, the past memory to determine how we behave. And that recollection and processing happens at a subconscious level. You see, that's why it's very easy to perpetrate the same response to, situations. That's actually the basis for conditioning, where, you see someone, you judge them already before you've even looked at them because of the way they look or because of the way they appear, because your brain looks at them and feels this person is not dressed correctly, or this person does not speak good English, or this person is this and that. And so based on your past experience, you put a label on them already. We call that value tagging. You see them, your brain tags them with a value. All right. It's completely different. For example, if you see Oprah at the airport, immediately you have that sensory experience of seeing her. Your brain draws on your memory and you remember how she is a superstar. The value is high. All right. And at a subconscious level, you won't even know when you wave or smile at her. You won't even know. If someone said you smiled at Oprah, you would not know until you see that maybe there's a video camera. They say, oh, you actually smiled. Whereas if it was somebody that was nobody that you did not know who approached you at the airport, you probably would be like, oh, that kind of thing. A lot of all those things happen at a very subconscious level. And that's because your brain predicts your behavior based on past experience. So that's what the brain does. But guess what? The brain does that in order to help us survive. So the brain is always scanning for threat. And so when the brain sees threat and the brain goes into a threat state, with our minds become full of negative emotions like fear, apprehension, skepticism, anger. All of those negative emotions predominate a state of fear. All right. And when a state of threat. And when you're in a threat state, you can't really thrive, because when you're in threat state, your focus becomes narrow. You can't see broad. You lack insights. You won't be able to generate insights to solve problems. When you're in a threat state, you won't be able to, you become problem focused rather than solution focused. All right. The challenge of leadership in our day is to move people from a threat state into a reward state. Because when you're in a reward state, you you have a lot of positive emotions, you have a lot of, happiness and excitement, and those are positive emotions that predominate the mind, and that creates a chemical environment that allows the brain to function properly. And studies have shown us that when people are in a threat state, they perform cognitively poorer. In fact, there's a recent study done in Harvard that showed that when executives are in a reward state, their cognitive function improves by more than 50%. All right. So if we're going to talk about success, all right, if you're going to be successful, you must understand how your brain works. You must understand how to stay more in a reward state than in a threat state. You must understand how to manage your emotions. That's where emotional mastery comes in. How to, use circuit breakers so that you don't become overwhelmed by negative emotions that would then limit your ability to process things properly and make decisions, strategic decisions that will help you achieve success. So there's a lot to unpack here, which I thought I mentioned that to you about how the brain is wired. And so I think the take home that I would say for people here is that your brain is wired to keep you alive. Your brain is constantly scanning for threats. Do you know 5 times a second your brain is scanning for threat? Every second, 5 times a second. Yes, your brain is scanning for threats. In the millennia ago, the threat would be, when man was a hunter-gatherer, would be bear and a lion, all of those things. Now the threat is, in the environment, one word spoken. It could be somebody saying something to you. It could be, somebody looking at you somehow, facial expression. That's why we're more likely to pick up negative expressions and negative things than positive things. You're more likely to pick up somebody saying a black guy, you're more likely to pick that up than somebody praising you. So if somebody says, wow, that's an intelligent black guy, you're more likely to get offended, even though it's a compliment. You look, why are you putting black there? Do you understand? And that's because your brain is constantly searching for threat. And why? Because your brain has been conditioned that, you can't judge me or call me based on the color of my skin, and so you lose the sight of even if the person was doing it innocently. And so that's very important for people to understand that if you're going to achieve success, you need to understand how to manage yourself so that you don't stay too long in a threat state and you move into a reward state. And that's what I teach. I teach leaders how they can move from a threat state into a reward state and how they can get their people, the people that the lead and the mentor and the coach, from the threat state into a reward state so they can be successful and they can operate at performance.
How do we handle this? The transition in, threat, reward? Because from what you said now, for corporate environments where you see people complain about toxicity, it fits into the threat state. Like, this place is too toxic. I mean, I can't breathe. I can't function because of the toxic nature. So how do I change that conversation?
Well, that's a whole masterclass. All right. But a few pointers there. It starts from understanding what the threat state is and understanding, for example, what people need. Sometimes when we don't understand the needs of the people, particularly for leaders, we would not deal with that. And even for an individual. So I've got a model called the Access model, which basically helps people assess what is their main social motivation. For some people, what they really need when to function is autonomy. And it doesn't matter if you give them certainty. So we've got autonomy, we've got certainty, we've got safety, we've got equality. All right. And I think we've got one more that I just skipped my mind. So for some people, what really matters to them is autonomy. For other people, it's connection. All right. So what makes them really thrive and successful, all right, is a sense of connectedness. They want to be able to work with other people and they connect with people. Those are the people that will come to work on the Monday and will tell you everything that happened on the weekend. I went fishing, I went this. They want to tell a story. They'll do well in an environment where there's connection. So for them, what matters is connection. If you as a leader, you don't thrive on connection, you're like, you come on the Monday morning, you're business minded, yours is about, just doing your thing, you will not really engage them and they will feel that you are just not connecting with them. So when you share them, when you're trying to create change and produce change in there, they would not follow you all the way. All right. And even for yourself as a person, for example, I used to work in a group practice. I used to be a salaried doctor, but I realized that what I really wanted was autonomy. I wanted to just be on my own. I wanted to be able to determine when I wake up, when I go to work, when I work, how I work. I couldn't stand a 9 to 5 thing. For me, autonomy was really important. So that determined the kind of job I do now, and the way I've arranged my practice so that I've got autonomy. All right. So, for example, on a Monday, this Monday, for example, I take 1 Monday off every month. I only work 3.5 days a week, and every second Monday I don't work. I just chill. I don't work on Thursdays. Every Thursday I really do not work. I took off all Thursdays so I can do coaching, I can do ministry work, and I can rest. Okay, but I wouldn't have been able to do that, if I did not, if I just locked myself into a contract that would be 9 to 5. But of course, because I knew that was what I wanted, then I waited. I remember that I had opportunities for 9 to 5 permanent full-time jobs, which I said no to. If I had said yes to them, I would still be stuck today. I wouldn't be exploring the neuroscience of leadership and starting a new business. All right, now I will still be stuck with that at the moment, and this will not flourish. So did it pay off initially? No, I was on short-term contracts for a longer time than I wanted because I knew what I wanted. And so it's really important that people understand what their motivators for success are. What are the things that push you? What makes you thrive? For some people, it's safety. All right, they want safety. They want to be sure. They want. Also, for some others, it's certainty. They thrive on certainty. So when they're in a position where they're uncertain about tomorrow and all that, you'll see that they're in a threat state. You see that for them, they can't just function. All right, because they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. They don't know, whether they still have a job. They don't know they're on contracts. There's a lot of uncertainty for them, and that just creates threat. They can't function. Whereas for some people, they don't care about what happens tomorrow. It's today. Theirs is today. For others, it's equality. Equality in the sense that they want to be treated equally. They don't want to feel inferior. For some other people, it is recognition. What matters to them is being recognized. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not because they're not doing it for recognition, but they like to be acknowledged. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when they're in a place where their efforts are not being appreciated, or when they feel that the efforts are not, they don't thrive. They feel they are not wanted. They feel they are not needed. So it's important for a leader to know exactly what people need and how to tap into them, because it's not about ability. Remember that what we're talking about here is not about, training people to be skilled. We're talking about people who are already skilled. We're talking about people who are already. So the neuroscience of success is not about teaching you how to succeed. It's about helping you to understand how your brain works and how to understand what your motivators are, emotional, cognitive motivators are, so that you can then channel your energy and your cognitive resources into those areas. So there's so many things. I've not even talked about emotional mastery and emotional intelligence, and because that's a key thing. Because there are many times you get into a threat state. The many times you do that, every single hour you have more than 490 emotions every single hour.
What did you say?
Right? Every hour you've got over 490 emotions generated. But not all of these emotions are conscious. Not all of these emotions are conscious. Whilst we're talking, I'm sure that you've had emotions of awe, emotions of excitement, emotions of concern. We have all these emotions. Some of them are not cognitively represented, so we don't feel them. All right, but they are there. Okay, so how do you master those emotions when there is uncertainty and there's inflation and stagflation and where there's a thought of recession and gas prices are up and there's a war in Ukraine and contracts are not going up? Well, I went to fill my gas yesterday, and gosh, I was like, wow, for 50 something liters, look at how much I'm paying to fill my tank. All of those things are happening, and interest rates are rising everywhere in the world, and and a lot of people may be in a threat state will be listening to this call right now, and their emotions are just because they've got bills to pay, they've got this, they've got that, and they're like, oh God, how am I going to do this? All right. Yes, you may not be able to change the situation. You can't stop Putin in Ukraine and produce more gas. You can't lower gas prices. All right. You may not even be able to leave your job or leave that relationship, but you may be able to master your emotions and control your emotions. But you need to understand what emotions are. You need to know how emotions affect you. you need to know that it's not wrong for you to have emotions. It's not wrong to be emotional. And the whole idea of being emotional is actually, it's a misnomer. There's nothing like everybody's emotional. All right. And you then need to know, how can I, what are the kind of circuit breakers? All right. Deep breathing, labeling the emotions, reappraising the emotions. How do I properly process emotions? And then how do I master emotions? And then how do I then have proactive strategies that will give me good, emotional health, brain breaks, diet, sleep, exercise, aerobic exercise. There are lots of things that, I can go on a whole. In fact, I think in 2 weeks' time, I'll be doing a masterclass with a psychiatrist in the UK. She's invited me to come and talk for a masterclass we'll be talking for about 1 hour or 2 hours on emotional mastery. Okay. So all of these things are important in moving people from a threat state to a reward state. So you see, it's not just one thing. And that's what neuroscience is all about.
Guys, you will agree with me. We all need a knee in our corner. We need a knee borire in our corner when it comes to this. You can see for 40 minutes plus, a subject matter you think you would just like, okay, no, but you and I, we can agree, as in you can see, you'll agree with me, is something that will take us a whole lifetime, to understand and even pass it on to the next generation. Guys, wherever you are, please connect with Dr. Nii Borire. Please go ahead. Give us that detail again about your program, because I told you before we started, where we'll get to that point, asking, where did the time go? All of a sudden, it's like now, almost an hour, we're just talking like that. So tell us more about your legacy program again. Let's let my audience, get a good grasp of it again.
Yeah, so the Legacy Conference 2022 will be happening, by God's grace, on the 25th to the 27th of August 2022. And we have an international leadership expert, John Maxwell. So if you want to join the community of change-driven and goal-oriented leaders like me, you want to switch your mindset from leadership to legacy. That's what we're doing. We want to switch our mindset from leadership to legacy, from success to significance, from impact to influence. Then you've got to be here, because we're going to be teaching practical transformational leadership tools. You're going to be blessed with rich learning, fresh ideas, inspirational insights from renowned global leaders from various walks of life, that would bless you and empower you. The keynote speaker again is John Maxwell. Is a number one, New York Times best-selling author, a speaker, a coach, world leading expert on leadership. All right. And of course, I will be speaking as well on the Neuroscience of Leadership. We've also got Wendy Burns, who is an inspirational speaker and leadership coach. And we've got Mrs. Jumoke Adenawa, Feladroto, wonderful coaches, powerful speakers. And we are all going to be talking about leadership and legacy. John Maxwell said, leadership is not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. It's about one life influencing another. But it's not just that we're not just talking about influence, we're talking about transgenerational influence. That's legacy. Legacy is about you influencing someone and leaving a mark that is unforgettable, in life. So that's what we want to build. So if you go to the website, Legacy Consults, one word with an S, there's an S at the end of consults, legacyconsults.com.au. You will find that there. All the details are there. The registration link is there. You can register straight away. It's going to be powerful.
Thank you so much, guys. I encourage you, go for that. This is my, would I say, 4th or 5th encounter with Dr. Nii, through the classes and all that. We belong to the same tribe. So when we sit and I hear him talk, super, super, super. So I encourage you, Dr. Nii, thank you so much for taking out this time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having this with us. So before I let you go, just that last word for my audience.
Yeah. My last word for you is that don't settle for the less. Don't accept, don't accept Don't accept where you are. Don't settle for the less. Don't settle for an average, mediocre life. You know, the best is yet to come. You can be better than this. And this is not just some motivational stuff. I'm telling you truth. You know, you can get better. You can improve the way you think, the way you feel, the way you process things. You can improve on all areas. And that's what my job is, to help improve your thinking, your feeling, and your behaving, so that you can be the person you're meant to be. That's
amazing. Your feeling, your behaving. That's what he's here to do. Guys, thank you so much, Dr. Nee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matri. Thank you for having me.
That program, honestly, I encourage you, everybody listening to me, please go register for that legacy. Go ahead. You can check up Nee on, I know you're on, just give us your handle so that just in case, you know,
you can follow me on Instagram. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Nee_Borire. Nee, actually it's Nee Borire, one word. Nee Borire, NIYIBORIRE. You can follow me on Nee Borire on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube as well, Nee Borire. Search me anywhere, Nee Borire. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Nee Borire, everywhere. All right, you can follow me on any of those channels and I'll be happy to connect. I'm not yet on TikTok. There's just too many apps right now. So,
so many.
Yes.
All right, guys. Oh, we need to call it a day, but you will agree with me. It has been an exciting moment with Dr. Nee.
Yes, it has.
You know, I just, for this 30 plus minutes, a lot has been said, which I am going to unpack myself, you know, going over again, listening to it again and all that. Yes. All right, guys. Till we come your way again, you know how we say it on the show. Bye for now.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Before we sign off, I just want to encourage you. Yeah, it's been a wonderful time. And also, I'd like to hear from you, your feedback. You know, you've been listening to the Word Cafe podcast. I would love to hear from you, the feedback. If you have any questions, you go ahead and ask those questions. You can reach me at my email address, amacrigaribaldi@gmail.com. Amacri is AMACHRIBALDI@gmail.com. Yeah, and we'll get back. You know how we do it on the show. Thank you. Arts and Time, it has been with you on the Word Cafe podcast today. Thank you for being there. You can catch me up on my social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all at Amakri Isobuye. Also, you can get copies of my books, A Cocktail of Words, The Color of Words, and my HRO notebook on Amazon and on Robin Heights online bookstores. You can also subscribe to my YouTube page at the same address. Yes, till we see you again. Bye for now.